All right, our next section of Chapter 5 is 5.2. We're going to talk about how to write the equation of a line given 2 points on the line. We've done a little bit of this before when one of those points is the y-intercept, but now we're going to talk about how to do that when one of those points is not the form. So I'll first start you out with, let's look at this one. This is one where you definitely can, and the reason you can is because you have a y-intercept here. So up until this lesson, you've only been able to solve and write the equation if you have a y-intercept. So this one you can solve. This one you do not have a y-intercept, so you cannot solve. 3, 5 is not a y-intercept. 0 comes second, so we cannot do that one. The third one we can because the y-intercept would be 1. This one we cannot because we have no y-intercept. And this one we cannot because we have no y-intercept. Again, a y-intercept looks like this: 0, 7, 0, 1, 0, negative 3. That 0 has to come first. How you can passing through the point 3, negative 1. So remember, to write in y equals mx plus b, we always need a slope and we need a y-intercept. Once we do that, we're ready to write our equation. So it says, what is the slope? Very easily, my slope should be 6. Hopefully that's a really simple part for you. Then it says, why is 3, negative 1 not a y-intercept? It's not a y-intercept because if I graph 3, negative 1, it's not a y-intercept. It's not on the y-axis. So I'm going to write, it does not lie on the y-axis. Now we're going to learn how we find the y-intercept. And the steps are written there for you in really tiny letters, so you can't see it on here, but you can read it on your own paper. So we're going to use y equals mx plus b to find the y-intercept. And you're going to sub in what you know into y equals mx plus b. So the only thing we don't know here is b. That's what we're trying to solve for. So we don't know b. But we should have a y, an m, and an x that we can plug in to help us solve for b. So I'm given an x and a y in this problem. 3 is x, negative 1 is y, and m, my slope, is 6. So there's the 3 numbers that I'm going to be substituting in. So I get negative 1 equals, because my y is negative 1. My slope is 6 for m times 3 plus b. So now I'm left with just a little equation that I have to solve. And once I get b by itself, I'm going to know my y-intercept. So if I simplify, I get negative 1 equals 18 plus b. I need to get b by itself, so I need to subtract 18. And I get negative 19 equals b. Now the important information I found here is my slope is 6. My y-intercept is negative 19. My b is negative 19. So those are the 2 numbers that are important to me. My answer is y equals 6x minus 19, and I'm done. So now we don't need to have a y-intercept given to us. We can use slope-intercept to find that. All right, we're going to follow those same procedures. So the first thing we need to do is find m. So if I look at this, it says write the equation of the line with slope negative 4 and passing through the point 7, 10. So first, I need to write, what is my slope? My slope is negative 4. So I have that. Now I'm on a mission. I need to find b. The way I find b is I use y equals mx plus b, and I need to substitute in a number for everything except b, because this is what I'm trying to solve for, so I do not know that number. I'm solving for it. But I have an m with negative 4, I have an x with 7, and I have a y with 10. So I just substitute those into the correct variables here. I get negative 4 times 7 is negative 28, and I still have that plus b I just bring down. And this is where you guys usually get stuck. You're like, what do I do next? What am I trying to do? Remember, I want b by itself, so I need to add 28 to both sides. So for b, I get 38. So again, I have an m, I have a b, and once I have those two, I'm ready to write my equation. So if my answer is in y equals mx plus b, it's y equals negative 4x plus 38. And that's it. All right, we're going to look at a few more here. Now it says, write the equation of the line with slope 2/5 and passing through the point 15, negative 9. Again, I need to find an m to start out because that's what's usually given to me in these problems. I have a slope of 2/5, so that's nice and easy. The next thing I need to do is find my b using y equals mx plus b. Again, b is what I don't know, so I'm plugging something in for that. Or no, I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm not plugging something in for that. I'm solving for that. So I need to plug something in for these other three. Well, here's my m, here's my x, here's my y. So when I substitute in, I get negative 9 equals 2/5 times 15 plus b. The simplifying is a little harder here just because you have a fraction, but use your calculator. Take 2/5 times 15 in your calculator, and you should get 6 plus b equals negative 9. Remember, we're solving for b, so I need to subtract 6, so I use my opposite operations, and b is negative 15. Remember, my whole goal is to have y equals mx plus b. My m is 2/5. My b is negative 15. So my answer is y equals 2/5 x minus 15. Now, what I'd like you to do is stop there and go to the front of your worksheet. On your worksheet, you can do the very first section, so 1 through 4, with the notes that you just did. So I want you to pause the video, go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's actually information that you learned before, so those are like review problems. And I also want you to do 1 and 2 in number 2. So 1 through 4 is information that you've known already. It's kind of what our quiz was on yesterday. 1 and 2 on the bottom are problems like we just did in the notes. And then part 3 is what we're going to do in the notes next. So go ahead and do part 1 and part 2, the whole front. So you can pause the video. And when you're done, start the video up again, and we're going to do the last 3 slides here. All right, 3 more slides. Now we're going to take this one step further. So in all the examples we did so far, the slope was given to us. Now we're going to need to find it ourselves. So we're always going to start with the slope. It says write the equation of the line passing through 9, 3, and 8, negative 2. I'm not given a slope, so I'm going to need to use my slope formula. Hopefully you're starting to memorize this. I subtract my y's, I subtract my x's. So here's my x1, y1, my x2, y2. So to find my slope, I need to take negative 2 minus 3, 8 minus 9. I get negative 5 over negative 1, which is 5. So my slope is 5. So I'm done with step 1. I found my m, so now I can move on to my b. Remember, the way we just learned how to do that is to take y equals mx plus b, substitute in what we know, and solve for b. I have an m, I have an x and y, actually I have another x and y. You can choose either point. If one person chooses 9, 3 and somebody else chooses 8, negative 2, you should get the same exact answer. I'm going to choose 9, 3 just because I like positive numbers, and you guys probably do too. So my y is 3, my slope is 5, my x is 9, plus b. If I simplify, I get 3 equals 45 plus b. And if I subtract 45, I get negative 42 is equal to b. So I'm done with step 2. Remember, our whole goal is to write an equation with y equals mx plus b. I have an m, I have a b, so it's y equals 5x minus 42. So you're doing these same steps over and over and over again. All right, next one. Again, we're always going to start with our slope. Unless you want to do your y-intercept first, that's fine, but just for our purposes, I always start with slope. So again, I'm only given 2 points. I'm not given any slopes, so I have to find it myself. If I take negative 1 minus 5, so I'm subtracting my y's, 2 minus a negative 2, be really careful, so that's 2 negatives. That becomes negative 6 over a positive 4, because it's 2 plus 2, which is 4. And we need to simplify this. You can use your calculator if you can't do it in your head, and it's negative 3 over 2 for m. So I'm done with step 1. Step 2, I need to use y equals mx plus b. Remember, this is the step where we're plugging in what we know and solving for b. I have an m that I'm going to use, and I also need to pick a point. I'm going to use 2, negative 1, just because the numbers are a little bit smaller. So my y is negative 1. My slope is negative 3 over 2. My x is 2. And I have plus b. Don't forget that plus b at the end. It's easy to overlook, but remember, that's what we're solving for. Now, when I simplify, I'm taking negative 3 over 2 times 2. Put that in your calculator, and you get negative 3 plus b on this side, and we still have negative 1 on the other side. If I add 3 to both sides to get b by itself, I end up with a b value of 2. So I'm done with step 2. Once I have an m and once I have a b, I just put that in to y equals mx plus b. So it's y equals negative 3 halves x plus 2. A way to check your answer is put this in your calculator for y equals. Look at the table and see if these 2 points are on there. All right, the very last thing here. It says write the equation of the line shown. Same exact ideas, but now instead of listing 2 points for you, you need to get them from a graph. So I'm going to go ahead and label these. This point is 1, 3. This point is negative 1, negative 2. So it just makes it a little bit harder. But the nice thing is now we can find the slope on the graph instead of having to use the slope formula. So if I find the slope, I go up 5 over 2. So my slope is a positive 5 over 2. So I'm done with step 1. I found my slope. I'm halfway there. My next step is to solve for b, because for slope-intercept form, you need a slope and a y-intercept. So I start with y equals mx plus b. Remember, in this equation, I'm solving for b. So I'm leaving b there so I can figure out what it is. I have a slope of 5 over 2. And I have 2 points to choose from. I'm going to use 1, 3. So my y is 3. My slope is 5 over 2. My x value is 1 plus b. Now when I simplify this, it doesn't get much simpler because I get 3 equals 5 over 2 plus b. If you make this 2.5, that's fine, and it actually will probably make it a little easier for you. So if I subtract 5 halves, or 2.5 from both sides, you end up getting an answer. So, and again, in your calculator, be really careful. 3 minus 5 divided by 2. You end up with an answer of 1/2, or 0.5. Either way you write it is fine with me, as long as it's a decimal that ends. So again, I have an m, I have a b, so I'm ready to go ahead and write y equals 5 halves x plus 0.5 or 1/2. So what you should do now is go back to the worksheet. Hopefully you have the whole front done because that's what the instruction said to do. And now I want you to finish the back. It's 4 problems, just like the 3 that we just went over, the newer types of problems. And this is not your homework. This should be done in class. If it's not done in class, it turns into homework. You do have another homework worksheet that's one of those Keystone constructed response questions. So if you're focused and you're doing this well, you should be able to finish this and get to that homework without a problem. Remember, if there's anything you're stuck on, you have teachers in the class that can help you.